Hello, Suns fans. This is Suns Latest. I am Rich Rubin. We're going to get it started with the Lucky Suns autograph of the day from 1977, the ball that I carried around me with my entire childhood until I got everybody on the Suns' autograph. John McLeod, Coach John McLeod. Um, my God, he used to live in my neighborhood. I went to his basketball camp 2 different times, and he always remembered my name. Rest in peace, the great Coach John McLeod, and we're going to get to him when we circle back to Suns Legend of the Day. But let's start it off with starters. All right, so this year's starters. Here's what I'm thinking, here's what I've been reading, and here's what it seems like it's going to be. Shooting guard, Devin Booker. Point guard, shooting guard, Jalen Green. We're going to get to that. Ryan Dunn is small forward. Power forward is Dylan Brooks, and center is Mark Williams. Six man, up in the air. As of now, even though they're constantly being thrown around in trade rumors, Grayson Allen and or Royce O'Neal. Backup center is Nick Richards. I don't think Maluach, the rookie, the 10th pick, is going to be considered a legit backup. He might be third string just so we can get some court time. I don't think he's going to get a lot of court time at the beginning of the season. Backup point guard Colin Gillespie. Either Butler or Goodwin are going to fight it out for the third point guard spot or just the third rotating guard spot. That's going to be a good one. Backup shooting guard can also be Grayson Allen. For a guy who can fill so many roles, I don't know why he's in all these trade rumors. And his contract isn't bad, as some of you have pointed out in the comments. Backup power forward, Rasheer Fleming or Nigel Hayes-Davis. I don't think well, you know what? I haven't seen Hayes-Davis. I think he's going to get a good shot in the preseason. It just seems like we have a lot of these guys right now, which is a good problem to have. Backup small forward, Oso, Huntley, or Rivers. A couple of two-way players. Oso still... I don't know where they're going to fit him. He just looked really good in Summer League. To be fair, Summer League can be considered a glorified practice against your peers. It's different when the season starts. So Devin Booker, definitely shooting guard. It's always going to fly around that, they might have him do some facilitating. Fine. If between him and Jalen Green, they do some facilitating and mostly focus on what they're good at, which is getting to the hoop and scoring and making their mid, then maybe we can get by. I still don't know why we haven't gone out and torch the earth for a decent point guard. And I like Colin Gillespie. We've gone over it. I just don't think he's what you want defensively. Giddey's name keeps coming up. It's not going to happen until trade deadline or unless something dramatic happens right away. Ryan Dunn, 100% at small forward. I think he has the most upside of any Suns player, especially for a second-year guy who can be a mofo of a 3-and-D. Mark Williams, if healthy, is exactly what the Suns want at center. Unlimited offensive skills. He's really young. He can protect the rim. He is long. He is a 7-footer. Oh my God! Please let Mark Williams be healthy. And one of our loyal viewers on Suns Latest pointed out that remember when Steve Nash was having back problems as he was turning 30, and the Suns took him back anyway. Yeah, the Suns training staff has been and is the best. They also did it with Grant Hill, who was left for dead and pretty much was an all-league defender when he got back to the Suns. So don't count out Mark Williams. Maybe that's the reason the Suns got him. They know that our training staff, early on forged by Joe Prosky, long time ago, made it very clear that, you know what, you get these guys healthy, you help their ailments, they're going to put out for you, not just because they're healthy, but they're happy that they're feeling better. I'm not going to get into the backups right now. I think that's really up in the air. But arguments, suggestions, let me know what you think. But that's definitely the starting five as of today. Moving on to Coach Ott. So Jordan Ott, we mention him a few times. He is a brand new head coach. He's never done it before. He's been in the league forever as an assistant. But this is really important to notice. Like Eric Spoelstra, started out in the NBA as a video coordinator for player development. So all this guy did to earn his bones was sit and watch video of the players the coaches told him to watch. And now he's a head coach. All that tells me is he can sit and watch video until, he's just falling asleep like this. What it also tells me is he knows what tendencies are. He knows what makes an effective player and what doesn't. He can probably see an injury coming before the player even knows he might get injured. Moved on to player development coach. So he went from watching them on the video to working with players as player development. Player development means like Hakeem Olajuwon big man camp. You're good, you're big, you're an athlete, you can do all these things. Now we're going to develop this skill. Now we're going to develop that skill. This is a guy who made his bones as an assistant, getting young players to play to their full potential. Sound like a familiar situation? It does to me. That was his job. Max out your players. Here's some proof. Last couple of years, he worked tirelessly one-on-one with reigning NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley. Mobley had all the tools. Mobley had all the skills. But last year, his job, Coach Ott, his job was to work one-on-one with Mobley every single day. It wasn't like a huge shock that Mobley got it. People were pretty accepting of it. But you don't get there without some specialized work, specialized one-on-one counsel. That is what Jordan Ott did with Mobley. This is what he does. And now the Suns have a guy who will work tirelessly with Ryan Dunn, with Oso, with Fleming, with Brea, and Malawash. All these young guys that are all on the Suns, all at the same time, and have arguably the best player development guy in the NBA as their head coach. That is something I think we've all been overlooking. Williams and Green still very young, still have potential. If there's anyone who can tap into what a guy is available to do for the Suns, is Coach Jordan Ott, and I am really excited to see that happen. Let's move on to your comments. We're getting a lot of comments, and I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate you subscribing. We're over 400 subscribers in a really short time. I don't really pay attention to metrics in that way. It's like, well, you should have had this many at this time, but whatever. For the 400 plus subscribers, thank you. And thanks for commenting, because you're making this a whole lot more fun. From @Dagoon_R, if the Warriors want Ryan Dunn, tell them to do number 2 and fall in it. I like the chutzpah there. We can't keep trading our youth when they show promise. At some point, we will have to build with the players we have. There are no shortcuts. Plus, Kuminga doesn't move the needle enough to pay him what he wants. I'm 100% there with you. See, from @CoopBabies 1976. Honestly, I'd say pass on Kuminga. We have that in Ryan Dunn, who's ahead of his time. I don't know if he's ahead of his time, but I think he's going to explode this year. Oso would be my only young piece, and I'm moving only because he doesn't have a shot. He's got that weird floater hooky thing. Oso, look, I've championed Oso. I think he's going to be better than we think. He's an anomaly, and he's a tweener. He's in that in-between size, weight, height thing. So it's going to be a minute. Going back to Coach Ott, if somebody's going to see where he fits, it's going to be Coach Ott. @Solfin Tan. When I was a kid, I used to sneak into the Coliseum with my friends to watch the Suns and the Rackets tennis. Phoenix had an indoor tennis team called the Phoenix Rackets. Chris Everett played for the Rackets. Used to watch the Suns and Rackets play in one play. I used to sneak in every now and then because I had 2 friends that were brothers. The Waldrop brothers were ball boys for the Suns, and another friend named James Ench. He was a ball boy for the Suns way back in the day. Curtis Perry caught a sneaking in player's door that he just let us go. It was pretty cool. Captain Curtis Perry was the man. I love Curtis Perry. He will be the subject of a Suns legend of the day. @DougDrew2. I was Curtis Perry's paperboy in Tempe, Arizona. In Tempe, or do you live in Tempe? Well, whatever. That's pretty cool. Curtis Perry is the nicest man. Curtis Perry had the greatest voice in the history of the NBA. I want to find some audio of him. Great, beautiful speaking voice. @Video Game Racing Clips. For me, Booker is the greatest Sun of all time. First in scoring, should be like a 4 to 6 time All-Star, and that finals run was the first time he had ever been to the playoffs. Really good points for him for the 5. Booker is a 4-time All-Star, 1-time first-team All-NBA, 1-time third-team All-NBA, and the leading scorer in Suns history. There is no question Booker is, if not the greatest Sun of all time, top 5, no question, top 6 or 7. It's not over yet. I want to see what else Book can do. @Professor Adam Perez. KJ has to be there, and Joe Johnson for me. Emotional pick for me is Mark West. It's a good emotional pick. I love Mark West. Loved him, and Elliot Perry and Hornacek, but I get those last 2 not being All-Stars. That's fine. But, Hornacek was an All-Star. And Elliot Perry, it's going to be tough for him to crack even the top 20, but, I mean, how can you not love Elliot Sox Perry? @Monkey Touch, welcome back. Was Shaq really their best player at center at that stage in his career? This was my first answer, but I can't think of any other All-Star centers. Sadly to say, we got a, I don't want to say dilapidated Shaq, but we definitely didn't get prime Shaq when he was on the Lakers or even the Heat. He's in the conversation because he's Shaq, and he was All-Star Game MVP when he was on the Suns, and and he was an All-Star when he was with the Suns. I think it was more novelty when we got him. I think it was a bad trade to get rid of Marion when we didn't need to. But he's in the conversation because he's Shaq, and he did stuff when he was with us. I don't think he moved the needle a ton. The only other star center the Suns ever had was Alvin Adams. This is so bizarre, but I mean, that's it. Shaq was an All-Star with the Suns. The only other All-Star center the Suns ever had was Alvin Adams. In 1 year, his first year, he was Rookie of the Year, an All-Star, and he started in the Suns' first trip to the finals, all as a rookie. Undersized his whole career. This guy played against Kareem. This guy played against Wes Unseld. He was twice as thick as him. He should have been a power forward, but one of the best passing centers ever, a finesse center, if you will, like Dan Issel. Alrighty, so those are the comments we got for the day. And these keep leading up to the 5. So the 5, at the end of the day, it's all our list, but I'll set it in motion, and then we can just have debate about it. So over the last week, shooting guard is Paul Westphal. Right now, I have Westphal ahead of Booker. They both went to the finals, but Westphal led the team to the finals. Chris Paul and Devin Booker led the Suns to the finals. That backcourt led the Suns to the finals. Westphal had a guy named Ricky Sobers, who was a rookie, one of my favorite Suns ever. But Westphal led that team to the finals. He was the only All-Star. I'm sorry, him and Alvin Adams were the All-Stars for the Suns that year. But Westphal was the only 3-time first-team All-NBA player the Suns had ever had. And he was unquestionably the leader of that team. And they almost beat the Celtics. So for right now, Westy ahead of Booker. I know to a lot of people that's like, are you out of your mind? Well, hey, it's an opinion. We're going to get to more of this stuff later. Prove me wrong. Steve Nash, the Kevin Johnson, and the Jason Kidd argument are absolutely incredible. Jason Kidd, the only other 3-time first-team All-NBA player the Suns ever had. While he was with the Suns, Jason Kidd was incredible. But Westy got us to the finals and led us there, and Jason Kidd did not. And that's I'm not comparing the two. You can't go wrong with either of these players. And Jason Kidd is freaking legendary. So I'm putting Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, changed the whole dynamic of the Suns, 7 seconds or less. I know Nash did not get us to the finals, but we don't do anything without him. And the Suns, the year that Horry checked him into the scorers table, they were on their way, and they were going to get it that year. And everybody knows it, and let's not talk about it. Power forward, Charles Barkley. You're going to argue with that? Charles Barkley, the first MVP the Suns ever had. The most recent pick was Walter Davis, and I took him ahead of Sean Marion for small forward all-time top 5. Rookie of the Year, 2-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Star, 10 years of scoring 20-plus a game. That beats out Sean Marion. It's really close because Marion was really special. So now we are at center. And remember, this is just the top 5 by position. We can just do a top 5 forever, and that might change this up. And I mentioned it earlier in the comments because somebody brought up Shaquille O'Neal. But as I said, Shaquille O'Neal was an All-Star once with the Suns, and he was All-Star Game MVP, the first time the Suns ever had an All-Star Game MVP. But we have to be honest about it. It was more novelty that the Suns had Shaq. He was about done. I think we got the last best few good years out of him. He went on to Cleveland, he went on to Boston, and that was it. It was fun to have him. He didn't move the needle. We made the playoffs. We didn't do much. We had Nash, Stoudemire, and Shaq, and that was a weird mix, and it didn't work. And Shaq kind of was doing his own thing and was kind of on like a 4-year farewell tour. I don't think he was serious about playing anymore. I'm not putting Shaq in my top 5. There's arguments for Shaq being the greatest center of all time in NBA history, but not when he was with the Suns. Amari Stoudemire. One of y'all brought this up, which I forgot about. The year that Stoudemire became a first-team All-NBA player, he played center for us. He's not a traditional center. He's taller than I remember when I saw him play a few times live. But he was mostly a power forward. And it's hard to not have Stoudemire as a first-team top 5, but what are you gonna pop out Paul Westphal? I'm sorry, you're gonna pop out Charles Barkley? I'm looking at something wrong. No, I'm not knocking off Barkley to put Stoudemire in. So that leaves us with the guy I brought up. And it's such a weird pick because he completely gets forgotten outside of Suns history. But Alvin Adams is still arguably the greatest center the Suns ever had. He was Rookie of the Year, the first Rookie of the Year the Suns ever had. All-Star that year. And a huge part going up against Dave Cowens and the feared Boston Celtics in the finals. And he held his own, and he did a great job. And he played undersized his whole freaking career. He should have been a power forward. He could have been a small forward. In today's game, Alvin Adams might have been a small forward. So tell me I'm wrong. I mean, what other centers have the Suns had? It's a weird, it's the thing that we have been lacking, and it's not a rip on Alvin Adams, but we have been lacking a mofo center for our entire existence. But Alvin Adams, and there's an argument for it, but Alvin Adams is the starting center of the top 5. Now, remember, Stoudemire, Devin Booker, there's some other players. They're better they're probably very arguably better players than Alvin Adams. But as the best center the Suns ever had, Alvin Adams is in the 5. We're going to get away from by position. The next thing we're going to do is 6th man. And it doesn't matter if the guy was a 6th man, like even though Barbosa and Eddie Johnson both won the 6th man award, and that's going to give them a leg up. But, there's a whole lot of other players that didn't make the 5. That could be your 6th man. Devin Booker, Kevin Johnson, Connie Hawkins, Jason Kidd, Stoudemire, Tom Chambers, Chris Paul, Sean Marion, Dan Marley, Dick Van Arsdale, Dennis Johnson, Kevin Durant, Larry Nance, Charlie Scott, Paul Silas, Gail Goodrich, Goran Dragic, Shaq, Hornacek, Marbury, Barbosa, Boris Diaw, and Don Boozy. These are the guys you got to pick from, and we're going to go over what you have to do to at least make the selection list. But that's it for what we got for now. So the Suns' top 5, the 5. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm out of my mind, and I'm sure you will, and I love the comments, good or bad. Paul Westphal, Steve Nash, Charles Barkley, Walter Davis, and Alvin Adams. That's the 5. Next Suns latest, we're going to go for the 6th man. All right, I appreciate you following. I appreciate you commenting. Subscribe if you want, and we're going to do this again really soon. Thank you.